This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian.
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey there, I'm the missing piece, TJ Lee, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show where it's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and CastBox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I'm, of course, your host, James J., and it's a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with the missing piece, TJ Lee.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
How are you today?
I am very good, my friend. It's a nice day. I'm hanging out with you. Good conversation abound. You can find any of my stuff on Instagram at the TJ Lee, YouTube at Dusklight Radio, and that's kind of the main places to find me. So pretty easy in that sense.
And I mean, we can find you on Amazon, your books, correct?
Yeah, of course. I didn't know we were going to talk about my writing stuff as well, but yes, my writing is available in a lot of different places. Amazon is the main place to get my current crop of books, and of course, it's pretty much plastered all over YouTube as well, in various places. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there in the horror section as well, if you like that.
Absolutely. And I mean, where can we see you event-wise when it comes to pro wrestling as well?
Yeah, sure. So currently coming up this year, I will be back in Denmark on October the 10th for WRESTLINGWITHE. We have a great show there, headlined by a title match between Bam Bam Kvade taking on the reigning and defending Body Slam champion Michael Finn. We have several other matches that are going to be fantastic to be announced. Beyond that, in the UK, you can catch me at BritWres Revolution. We typically run up in the north in a place called Cleethorpes in Grimsby. That is on November the 22nd. Ironically, if you're in the Danish scene, that's the same day as Roskilde Festival for Body Slam, so check out either one. And you can also find me at a wonderful place known as Amabio, October 25th, for Nordic Elite Wrestling, for the biggest show of the year that they do. Typically nearly 1,000 people coming in. It's a wild night of wrestling. Obviously support Scandi Grabs Wrestling first and foremost. And then October 26th, also United Wrestling over in Oxfordshire. So a few places.
All right, so keeping busy.
Mm-hmm. I love to keep busy. That's what the thing about wrestling is beautiful is being blessed that almost every weekend I get to go somewhere, whether it's traveling locally or flying. I get to go and do what I do, and I'm very lucky.
Perfect. And you don't have to go looking for it. The links to his social media and his books and his YouTube page will all be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube in CastBox. Right,
thank you very much.
Let's get into it.
Mm-hmm.
You are a part of some type of new faction called KNR. Can you tell us about your relationship with Ender Kara and Aliss Inc.?
Yeah, so KNR, we shortened it down just because it was easier for Western audiences. It's Kita no Ronin, which translates to Northern Samurai, or Samurai of the North. I've made no secret of the fact that two of my closest friends in this business are Endakara and Aliss Inc. We've all got a very shared philosophy. We've all came up in the European scene, in the Scandi Grabs scene. We all feel in our own way we have helped shape it. Myself, I'm very blessed to be known as the voice of Scandi Grabs. Endokara is arguably the best European unsigned junior heavyweight, and Aliss Inc.'s accolades as the only ever undisputed body slam champion and the most successful Swedish export, but also Danish champion, speaks for itself. We all feel that we've done a lot for the scene, and there's so many others who have helped hold that fort down. But the three of us then we did the UK, and we also did Japan, and we all bonded over a very unique shared philosophy, both in the ring and out of the ring. And we kind of reached a point after we, myself and Endokara, had done Big Japan in 2024, and we were at Asakusa Castle, and we were talking about what we could do differently as a group, with my mind and my voice and my presence in terms of the mic framework and Endokara's in-ring work, Aliss Inc.'s in-ring work, and we felt that the UK scene was missing something, ironically a missing piece. And so we said, well, why don't we sit down together, we'll train, we'll work out some things, and KNR was born out of that. When we filmed the promo segments with Mark and Beth Ashley, who are arguably, in my opinion, alongside like Chokehold Cinema and Graps on Film, some of the best videographers in the UK. They just did All Elite Wrestling's Forbidden Door. They're incredible people. We filmed that in Sweden. The response that we got from the segments that we put out was some of the most fantastic feedback I'd had from our peers and from fans. And so with almost no other promotion outside of our social medias, our names, our social media work, when we debuted, the crowd were already chanting our name. They already knew who we were. It was a great, great feeling. And in my humble opinion, the match that we had with Harrison Bennett and Shane Hook, two of Wales's best wrestlers, both singles and in tag, I think it was one of the best tag matches the south of the UK had seen this year. And I'm very proud of the work that we've done for the time that we were there.
Hell yeah. So, it's safe to say that you are essentially the missing piece of this group. So you are managing them, correct?
Yes. I don't want to get any illusions. I'm not wrestling with them. I am looking to train in the ring and see where that takes me next year, if my body can hold up for it. But no, they are the wrestlers in that equation, and they do a damn good job of it. I mean, both of them individually are known for their work, and together, especially because we've all trained together, and the two of them have trained together for 7 years, so they know each other intimately in terms of their move sets, what they're thinking. And with me being there, directing that traffic, giving them the voice, it's also, in my opinion, a mixture of aesthetics. We all have very similar philosophies in our approach to wrestling, our presentation with wrestling, and our presentation as KNR. So yeah, I definitely in a point of the voice, I'm the missing piece for them, 100%.
And I mean, it's interesting for you, obviously, for a very good span of time, you've been exclusively doing, commentary, as you said, the voice of Scandi Grab. So what did it kind of mean to you to kind of get back into the managerial position?
It was really cool. I managed at the very beginning of my career. I had dabbled wrestling and managing. I got injured during training very, very early on. And then I started managing a old group called Omen with some wrestlers at the time that I still think very fondly of. It didn't have the legs at the time because we were all living, ironically, so far apart, but we also just didn't have the same philosophy. We won a couple of belts, but it just didn't have the vibe. So when it ended, and my body was, I was still healing from a couple of things. Like I had a car accident that year. I was like, you know what? Managing is good for me for now. I'm going to go and work on my commentary craft. And I was still under the wing of the mastermind Ollie Spring, who is a dear friend and an incredible talent. And then the pandemic happened, and I started to do my own thing. And obviously, Voice of Scandi Grabs happened, Missing Piece happened. When it came back to doing managing, I'd always said I would only ever do it if it was with someone who, one, I was close with in and out of the ring, and two, someone who shared my vision. And So that obviously that all came together. You know, when you travel the world with somebody or with two people, and you go through those highs and lows, it really bonds you. So when I finally made the walk, it's weird. The first time I ever went out and managed, 2018, I was terrified. I remember it very distinctly because it was a company called Hope Wrestling. And I was in the locker room with Piper Niven, and he was just the loveliest person to be around. And people like Bram, there's Tom Latimer, some incredible talents that night. And we had a segment, and I was so scared going out. And I remember thinking, like, I've been on stage many times. I've done talks and whatnot, and I just, like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I'm not even wrestling. I'm not doing the hard work. But I went out, and I did it, and I felt this moment of unity. And it was really cool, but it kind of, at least for me, it faded. Whereas when I came out with KNR in April, the feeling of completion I felt, and I'm in this sense of having the crowd accept you and welcome you in that role when you've been known as a commentator and your role has been set, and they're like, they love what you're doing, they love the look, and you feel the vibe, and it just felt like a full circle moment for me. And it was something that, to do it with two of my best friends, two people I consider siblings, made it arguably for me all the sweeter. And it's a moment that I'll always treasure in my career.
Obviously, you're close with Endor and Aliss. What's a pet peeve about them that you just don't understand?
Now, when you say about them, do you mean them themselves or the perception of them by fans? There's two very different questions.
No, you, them as people.
Okay. Okay. So, Aliss, my pet peeve with Aliss, and these are both said with love, of course, because I know they've got pet peeves for me. Aliss is someone who is too tough for her own good. I have never, ever, and I've worked with many talents, I have never met someone as tough as Aliss. Most people will never know the extent of the damage that Aliss has accumulated through combat sports, through wrestling, and has worked through it with no complaints, because the show is more important than her well-being. And she's never unsafe, but it's like, I just want to, like, grab her and shake her and go, oh my God, will you stop? But obviously, she's an adult, so I'm just there whenever, you know, things need to be said, like to talk to each other. With Ender, Ender's as easy. Ender and I, if ever we're hanging out and we're traveling, if we're working out, doing whatever, I am someone who I'm learning to take pictures of moments in my life. I'm not good at it. I'm very anti document everything, but I'm trying to do it for certain things, and I've got a whole list of memories. Ender is very protective of that part of his life, understandably so, and so I can very rarely ever share moments that we have, me, him, and Aliss, because he'll kill me. So sometimes I'm like, man, I just want to put this out there, but I also understand that Ender is as advertised. I will say this to anyone listening. Ender Kara is exactly the person, like, that he portrays. Like, he there's no secret behind it. It's just that to him, that part of his life, if you're privileged enough to be in it, it is something he keeps very guarded, and I can't really blame him for that. But it's still a pet peeve.
Well, another thing you mentioned was, you know, maybe, you know, toying with the notion of actually getting in the ring. Yes, no?
Yep.
So, are we going to see you properly have a match in 2026?
So, I would love to. I have made no secret of that. I have told colleagues, and I have said that, like, in certain circles. What I don't want to do is say it, set an expectation, and then not be able to deliver. My thing, after calling over 1,000 matches, is I know quality when I see it, and obviously everyone's limitations in the ring are different. I will never go out there and be a Will Ospreay. I will never go out there and be an absolute specimen. But I also respect wrestling so deeply that if I can't go out there and have what I would consider a serviceable match where I look good, I move good, and I am having a match that a fan would look and go, that's not a commentator or a manager trying to be a wrestler. That's someone who is a wrestler. And it's not about physical perception. I do want to get in better shape. It's just more the mechanics of wrestling. I would love to say to you, yes, that is the goal for 2026. I have a couple things I need to work on injury-wise and whatnot, but a lofty goal, perhaps. But yes, if I can get my body in shape and training goes the way I want it to, and I look decent with it, then yes, I would love to do that. But I'm not going to guarantee it, just to be safe.
Hypothetically speaking, if you are getting in the ring, I mean, who are you going to be, across from the ring?
Oh, if I get to choose?
Yeah.
Man, in a world where I am in shape, no injuries, and I've trained consistently enough that I'm serviceable, I would actually love to wrestle Ender. I would love to be one of the people that welcomes him back to the ring when he is back from injury, because I have trained with him. I know him. I know how he thinks, and I know the kind of way he wrestles. And there is a saying in wrestling that you'll never hit anyone as hard as you hit your brother or the people that you love. And so to have him come back with all the energy and the frustration and all the emotions and let him take it out on me in a match and test myself, yeah, that'd be incredible.
Well, I mean, going on the opposite side of the ring, outside by the, table, let's talk about, your commentary life partner, as you called him, Ollie Springs.
Yes, Ollie. So Ollie is my mentor. He was the first person I ever worked with, and he was the one who effectively showed me the ropes of the business. He has about 1.5 years on me, I think, in experience, maybe 2. And the first sort of 3 and a bit years of my career were strictly color. Almost never did play-by-play. Didn't know a lot of the intricacies of the game, and having come from a radio background, I certainly knew broadcasting, but I didn't know the mechanics of that, how commentary could operate as a two-person booth. And Ollie wasn't is such a patient person, such a giving person, and I'm very lucky to have had that start with him. And obviously now, anything from sort of 2021 onwards, my own style is very different to his. But that's the beautiful thing about commentary. It's just like any part of wrestling. You have different philosophies and different styles for different people. His is very, very different, but in the best of ways. I can't say enough good things about his skill. That's why he does Progress, because he is, he's up there as one of the best in the country.
After you, was in the boot with him, you've done solo commentary as well. I like to call it, Joey styling it. So, it's one thing to do commentary with somebody else. Obviously you have somebody to bounce off of. But
yes,
how, what is that experience like where you're the only voice that people are going to hear? What's that experience like?
Well, it's funny because when I look at my career now, the majority of my career overall has now been more solo than anything else in my career. If I was to stack it on as an overall experience, I originally was a little bit intimidated by it because flying solo without anyone to guide you means that you have more gaps because there's only one voice, and it means that you're going to wear yourself out almost at double the speed because there is no one to carry the big moments if you need a rest. And I think the initial scare goes away once you realize that you're steering the ship and you don't have to sort of worry about your limitations in that sense. No matter who it is, you're always going to find that there are differences in philosophy. And there's nothing wrong with that, but like some of the things that Ollie does, I don't do, and some of the things I do, he would never do. And it allowed me the opportunity to go, okay, how do I want to approach this as a product? How do I want to approach these moments and this style of performance? Now, when I look at it, and I have a new commentary partner in Arthur Scuro, who is just an incredible human being, an incredible talent. Never met anybody who picks up commentary so naturally and quickly. But when I look at my work at Body Slam as a prime example, Ollie and I did that back in 2018, and we did it together for 3.5-4 years. And when the time came where they were like, we would rather you do it live, because generally speaking, as I'm sure you can understand, live commentary is just going to have a very different feel to it that you can't replicate in post in the booth. It's very, very hard. So when they asked if I would be willing to keep flying out to Pumpuset or to Aalborg or to Aarhus, I was like, yeah, of course, I'd love to, because I didn't have the commitments that Ollie does. And so when that decision was made, it was like, well, I'm going to keep going. And that has allowed me to learn so much more as a solo guy. And now when I hear from people, like occasionally we'll do a show and fans will come up and they'll either speak to me at the show or they'll message me, and the compliments are just so wonderful of like, they recognize the effort that it takes to carry an entire product for 3 hours with everything involved in that. And it is a monumental challenge. And I'm very grateful that I get that time. I really am.
Well, I mean, you are dubbed, the voice of, the Scandi Grabs. Obviously when you think WWE voices, I mean, I'm always going to say JR. That's the first one.
Oh, he's my hero.
I mean, when you think AEW, obviously, Excalibur comes to mind.
Yes.
But, when you think, Scandinavian pro wrestling, obviously, you're going to be the first voice that they hear. So, I mean, what does that moniker kind of mean to you, to be the voice of the Scandi Grabs?
Oh, it's everything. There was a moment last year that had really encapsulated that for me, where it's really full circle. Carlos Zamora, who's probably one of the best male Danish talents that Scandi Grabs has ever seen, and he won the Scandi Grabs Invitational for that year. And I was doing it on my birthday, which I didn't mind. I love the idea of being, out in another country with good people, great locker room, and in the broadcast, this dude didn't tell me he's doing this, wins the tournament, pulls the lights up, and then gets everyone, 700 people in the pub who said to turn around, names me, thanks me for bringing Scandi Grabs to the whole world. And I'm not an outwardly emotional person, but I had the camera set up. I was recording some reactions, and I was in tears because it meant the world to me. Like commentary. And I tell my students this, it's arguably at its best when you get your sound bites, like JR's iconic sound bites over the last 40 years. Excalibur's got some incredible ones. Matt Stryker from Lucha Underground. There's so many people. But at its middle ground, it's usually background noise for a lot of people. And it's a role you kind of have to accept of most people will know it when it's good. They'll really know it when it's bad. But otherwise, it's there. So to have someone that you deeply respect just shout you out on the biggest stage of the biggest night, it's like, oh, I actually am that guy. I am that person. And Danish wrestling as a whole, where the center point of Scandi Grabs is, where it's kind of grown from there into Norway and Finland and Sweden, to see it where it is now, where WWE is going back to Denmark next year, is a wonderful thing. To know that the biggest companies in the world have their eye on Danish talent who are going to tryouts, to go Swedish talent who are going to tryouts. It's an incredible feeling of helping to build that scene, because they're so hungry over there. They're so rabid, and everywhere that they go, everywhere Scandi Grabs goes, it sells out. Whether it's Norway with NWF doing Samfundsalen, where it's 700 people, whether it's the promotions in Sweden that are regularly doing massive festivals, whether it's Finland's FCF, which is breaking all manner of grounds and gender constructs, or of course, whether it's Body Slam and NEW, who are just, every city they go to, it's more people. To be a part of that, to have my voice synonymous with an entire region, is something that I never I didn't ask for it, I didn't expect it, but it's a validation of the work I've put in there, and it's a reminder that I always have to be better, because one of the things about English talent, whenever I've like sat down with people like Man Like DeReese or Robbie X, those talents are so eager to get back out to Body Slam or to go there and do it for the first time because they know that it's now become a point of legitimacy in wrestling. In the same way that we view Japan as you go there, your name is bigger as a result. That is now what's happening with Scandi Grabs. And so to me, it's a reminder that I have to be at the top of my game because it's only going to get better as time goes on.
I mean, obviously, for anybody that don't know, you are UK based. So,
yes.
Going from UK commentary to Scandinavian commentary, was there any difference or adjustments when you have to obviously commentate for a different country in a different country?
There are definitely different rules of engagement, and I would say it's both country based and it's company based. In the UK, culture is very different in regards to some of the restrictions on what we say and how we say it. Because a lot of the shows in the UK are family shows, meaning that you can't be as crass or as cheeky in some of the displays you do, because that's kind of a British cultural thing of if you could bring fun for the whole family, kids, while they might know swear words and they might know certain suggestive programming, it's not always implied. And if you run a promotion at a school, you definitely can't do that. Right. So you'll have to check with the promoter, and they tend to frown on it if you're dropping swears all the time, which is completely reasonable if you're going to take your career further. But in Denmark, one of the biggest culture shocks I had to begin with was the knowledge that there is no age restriction. Like kids turn up and they know what swears are. The parents don't care because it's normalized, because there's no point in making it taboo, because if you make it taboo, they're going to do it more. So you normalize it all down. You say, well, this is what it is. This is how it goes. And as a result, one of the coolest things for me was like, oh, there are no restrictions. Like, go and have fun. We don't care. If you want to swear, swear. If you want to make a joke that's like a little bit inappropriate, a little bit saucy, go ahead. Like, we're going to do our thing. And obviously it's not an invitation to just turn everything into a storm of swearing, but when you don't have to overthink it, it becomes such a fun experience in that sense. I would say that outside of that, the words are very difficult sometimes. Like, I'm very big on, if you've given me a name of a place or a joke or a wrestling name, and it's in Danish or it's in Norwegian or whatever, I'm going to make my point of pronouncing it as best I can accurately, because while I am the English commentator, I don't want the audience to forget the importance of that country's culture,
right? Because
it's very important they don't lose that in the mix. I don't want to English it up too much, but it does depend where you go. I would say, like, when I've done Japanese based commentary, it is very much a stickler for technicality. There is, you are there, you are calling the wrestling, and you're calling it as accurately as you physically can, and your emotions, at least for me, tend to be at an even higher pitch because of the stakes of what you're doing. So it does tend to depend where you are. And if you're working with a company like BritWres Revolution, which is production based, there are going to be moments where, for example, we just did our recent show. We had the opening segment between Nathan Cruz and Robbie X, two phenomenal talents for the main belt. The moment they were done, we were told, okay, now the music's going to play, stand up, we'll pull your chairs away, turn around, there'll be a camera in front of you, cut the opening. And I love it because it's a completely different production challenge. So your mind is no longer thinking, okay, sit here, relax, don't worry about it. Like, you're always on. And as you know, you mentioned Excalibur, who has to do ad reads in the middle of his of something he could be doing in the middle of a match. JR has to remember his sound bites. Michael Cole has to be aware of all times of the earpiece, letting him know what's coming up next. That's what you have to prepare for if you want to go and be the best. So to me, it's a new challenge.
And I mean, you mentioned, maybe less restrictions and, the Scandinavian countries. I do remember something of I believe it was Body Slam. You coursing out Peter Olisander when collapse became a thing.
Yes, I did. How did you feel about that?
It caught me off guard. Excuse me. It caught me off guard, but it made me understand that it was maybe a bigger moment than I was looking at. Like, I go back to like when Stone Cold won the title from The Rock at WrestleMania 17, and the big thing was that, you know, he aligned himself with Vince McMahon, and JR was like, "You son of a bitch! You son of a bitch! you sold your soul to the..." So I kind of took it as that kind of moment.
Yeah, I can never do a shaking his hands with Satan moment. That was iconic from JR, who is a hero of mine. But knowing that if you do a moment like that and you keep it for a very specific time, it makes it more special. So knowing where the story was at that moment, and knowing where it could go, we'd also done a bunch of segments over the past year prior to that. Like it was myself and Michael Oku in the ring, and then Alessander came in, sneaks his way between us and starts speaking to us. You know, every time I would do a cold open, if I was filming backstage, he would be there. I think right before that moment you're referencing, we'd had Collapse had kicked me out of the locker room. So we really wanted to make sure that people understood this is not the Shotgun Cartel. This is not the Phoenix Fun. This is something very different. And that's, you know, proven prophetic, because there's still a problem within Body Slam to this day. And so I knew that if I was going to do that, it had to be here. And I think it made the moment bigger as a result.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know, going on the opposite end of that spectrum, you were, I will say that you were given some monikers to give. I believe her name is Imogen Jane.
Yeah, Emerson
Jane.
Emerson Jane, the top shagger. Yes, I was. Now I say given. I was indeed given a series of names at the airport with Emerson. I was saying, hey, so, you know, I know you've got a few monikers. Do you have any in mind? And the most devilish smile comes across her face, and she says, "Oh, I've got a few for you." And the real test of that show, ironically, the biggest show we had ever done at Poland, and I'm like already cracking under the pressure of like, she gives head under the table, and that first one already broke me. But that is the thing, is she is the top shagger, and you know, the names are cheeky, but she is all business when it comes to being in that ring. I mean, that match was brutal, but some of the death matches that Emerson has had, you know, she could have gone a different way and given these badass nicknames, but if you know Emerson, it is so on brand for her. And I felt, again, you know, monikers and nicknames are cool things. If you have multiples, there's something special about you. And I think Emerson exemplifies that she's special with that.
Do you low-key feel like it was almost a rib on you to actually see if you do it?
Do you know, a little bit, but also it would have been more of a rib had it been in the UK, where it would have been riskier. I think in Body Slam, it was a 50-50. I have had a talent, and actually it was Tate Mayfair, who's just one of the best talents in the UK, who we were doing a show at a brewery. So again, in the UK, no limits, it's a brewery environment, but it's not a serious show. And he wanted me to call his knee strike, I think it's Jaguar he calls it, but he wanted me to call it Suck Your Mum, which in the UK is an insult. And I think he didn't think I was going to do it. And you know, certain shows like Body Slam are very, very loud, but certain shows are not the loudest of crowds. And I will never forget this, because both on the hard cam, on the roaming cam, and on my comms, and on every fan cam, you just hear an echo of me going, "Suck your mum!" And he just turns with the biggest fucking grin on his face for going back to the match. And I was like, Listen, man, I'm locked in, and if my brain says that's what it's called, that's what it's called. So sometimes I will just lean into the rib because I know it's worth it.
Well, this was definitely not a rib. You actually was able to do commentary for Big Japan Pro Wrestling at famed Budokan. I mean, obviously one of the bigger, arenas when it just comes to pro wrestling in general. So what was that moment and experience like?
So it was actually Korakuen Hall. Budokan, I got featured for. I so wish I could tell you I'd done Budokan.
I mean,
they
Korakuen
featured me
big,
on that.
I'd say.
Oh yes, Korakuen to me is one of the greatest moments of my career, and it's something I really want to replicate. Budokan was an incredible thing where the media team for Big Japan had taken some of my sound bites and commentary and had put it over the match for Ender's defense. An amazing match. Korakuen came together. I had done a match for them with Tomato Kaiji when Endo was trying to get the belt, and Tasaka-san, the head of Big Japan, really liked it. And there's something about going into certain buildings with an energy. I don't know about ethereal forces and whatnot, but I do believe that certain places have a vibe about them, and Korakuen has that. It's an insane feeling to have, and to be there when Ender won the big one was just an incredible moment, especially with it being like right on New Year's was just very cool. And Big Japan is such a unique place in Japanese wrestling with the history that it has. To have been trusted with that was just a wonderful thing. And then to have been trusted to call the first international defense of the belt in over 20 years against one of the next big names in Jordan Oliver, that Ender had him for 40 odd minutes was just an icing on the cake. But Japan is, and I say this with no reservations, Japan is just one of the greatest places to be as someone in wrestling, but also in general, it's a beautiful place. I have never in my life felt like I belonged somewhere more than Japan when it came to my career. It's unlike anything else. The way that fans are when it comes to their perception of wrestling in Japan, it's otherworldly. I have never seen, when I looked up and I was in between matches, I saw the sea of people with high quality iPads, DSLRs, like these incredible cameras, all in the stands, just taking their own shots. Like the dedication is unreal. It's unreal.
Being in Korakuen Hall, like I said, one of the most, prestigious wrestling buildings of all time. Is that a moment that you take in the moment? Like, wow, I'm here, I'm doing this? Or is it something that kind of sets in afterwards?
Do you know what the funny thing is? In that moment, I didn't take any pictures, which is rare for me. I normally try and stand one. It was an in-the-moment thing, and... Ender, I did not see Ender until after the show. Ender was so locked in, knowing what it meant to him, and I know how his process is. I did not want to bother him. I was not meant to really be there as well. It really kind of came together as a last minute thing, and so it was just a weird one. And afterwards, I was like, oh, I just did that. That's really cool. But it's odd. Ender is like a brother to me, as like a sister. So I was just more excited for the moment that I got to share with him, seeing him capture that belt, to be the first gaijin to have that belt. That moment almost eclipses my own, and not in a bad way, but in the most positive way, where we were just, I was just over the moon for him. We were happy for each other. So I think afterwards, when I was like probably just about to fly home, I was like, I did that, and it was like, it was a weird feeling of, that's really cool. It didn't happen the way I was expecting. And now it's like, well, what's the next thing? And the next thing at that point was, well, I need to go back out. I need to do a proper tour. And I want to do it with a few different places. And I really want to entrench myself in the Japanese scene.
Well, one of the bigger names that you did get to do commentary for was for Tajiri. You know, obviously, former WWE superstar. What was that experience like? Getting to commentate a Tajiri match.
Oh man, that was incredible for a couple of different reasons. Tajiri was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, and you have a certain image of your favorites when you have seen them as a kid, and you haven't seen them in a long time. And I was like, oh, I wonder if it's going to be any different, you know. And I see him, and, you know, obviously he's a little bit older, but he's not missed a beat. Not missed a beat as a person, as a performer. And it really was such a cool moment. I was actually sat next to Stevie Turner from WWE, which was also, I mean, Stevie is a friend of mine. We go way, way, way back in the scene. But, like, you know, that in itself now is such a surreal thing to be like, I'm sitting next to her while we're doing a Tajiri match with one of the UK's best in Charles Crowley, who I cannot say enough good things about. More places should be using him. Scandi Grabs should be using him. But he's just incredible and the perfect opponent for Tajiri. And it was really cool. His matches followed the exact structure of, like, you know, watching an old school WWE match when I was a kid. And so I think for me, the biggest lesson I took early on was I will always be a fan, of course, but when I am in that booth, I am not a fan, in the sense that I will never let that inner fanboy out to the point where it affects my ability to do my job. And that's just more of a personal thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with someone else doing that. Like, it's more of a thing for me of, like, my inner fanboy will go mad, but I'll never let it come out on the commentary, outside of, like, you know, seeing a buzzsaw kick and just turning that into a good moment, because I would want Tajiri to hear it and to know that it was professionally done. So to overdo it would have cheapened it in my mind. And that, again, it's a personal thing, but it was amazing. I would love to call another one of those matches. I had the Saito brothers who were in All Japan now as well. I'd love to go to Q-Pro with Kyushu and work with them over there. A few of my friends have just done some work for Tajiri as well, and I hear they're doing very, very well out there. But yeah, it was awesome. It was just a blessing. You know, one of the things in this business where you work hard and you want the payoff to be people knowing what you're doing, that you get better places and, you know, hopefully more money. But to call a match for someone that you watched in the cruiserweight division, that's a really cool moment.
You know, obviously the constant professional. You know, obviously Work Japan, voice of Scandi Grabs. Can you tell us about that time you commentated a pop-up pirate game?
Okay, yes, I can. Arthur Scuro, my commentary partner, he is going to love this. So, this is for United Wrestling, which is effectively my home away from home promotion in the UK. It's a bit of a traditional break to a lot of what British wrestling is. It's always done in breweries, so it's always over 18. There is a massive, massive emphasis on inclusivity, but in a sense of it's not like overt. And the way that we kind of do it is we don't have like gender divisions. Anyone could take on anybody. Half the champions that we've had have been women for the Undisputed Belt. So Blake Monroe, formerly known as Mariah May, was the second champion. Now it's Mark Haskins at the moment, who's, again, one of the most credentialed wrestlers in the UK. And we have phenomenal contests. Again, that's why I wanted KNR there. We could have gone anywhere. We had offers from different places, and we wanted it to be United because they had invested so much time into us. So Pop-Up Pirate was the same show that we did KNR's debut on. And it was just, I'll never forget it as long as I live. It involved Arthur Scuro, who is the Plunder Taker. He is the captain of United, and his opponent was Steve Valentino, who is also another pirate. Different kind of pirate. The point of it was that it was a 3 stages of pirate match, which even in the beginning, it sounds like they're set up to a bit. It's the sort of thing that you and your mates fantasy book on like create a the GM rules on WWE 2K. And so the first round is pop-up pirate. So I'm sure it's to your audience they'll know, but it's a little game where you have a little pirate. He's in a barrel, and you have a bunch of swords, and you keep putting them in until one of them pops the pirate out. And made even better by the fact that Arthur Scurro is giving live commentary while sat in the ring with Steve Valentino. These are two men who are both plus 6 foot. They're both absolute studs, and they're doing this. And it was just, it broke me. The second round was hook wrestling, where they would take one finger, link it with the others, and then do a form of arm wrestling, which then, of course, led into basically a hardcore match with some very painful moments in it. The ending, I will say, Arthur did not know what was in the treasure chest. He had no idea that was in there. So to make it all the sweeter, after everything that we as a group, United's a very close-knit group of people that work those shows, to have my debut, to have had Chris Aries have a phenomenal match against, I think it was Brendan White, to then cap that off with Arthur opening the chest. He closes it because he realizes what it is, and to become the next future-proof champion was wonderful. If you, audience, if you haven't seen this match, it is online. Please go and check it out. Forget my commentary is the window dressing. Like I had some great little quips. I'm very proud of them, but it's not it's not the thing that comes to my head. The moments that come into my head is watching two grown men do pop-up pirate in a wrestling match, and the crowd just loves it. They are so into it. That was probably one of my favorite matches I've done this year, unironically.
I mean, did they tell you in advance that this was something that they were going to do, or was that all on the fly commentary by you?
The commentary was I knew the concept. So one of the owners of United, Mike, he's a good friend of mine, and he will frequently message a few of us when he's got ideas. And the way that he told me and the way that Arthur told me was the same way, which is they said, we've got an idea for a match. And I was like, all right, what is it? Well, Steve Valentino's a pirate. Yeah. Pop-up pirate. What? Yeah. What? Could you elaborate? Yeah, it's part of 3 stages of pirate match. Okay, what are the other ones? Oh, you'll see. Okay, cool. And then after that, I was like, you know what? Don't tell me anymore. I'd rather see it for myself. Now, normally I do it live, but because we had KNR, we had to, obviously get everything ready, get into outfits, take pictures. It was the only United show that I was there live for that I did not commentate live. But that meant I got to stand up there and watch parts of it. Now, I did, to ensure that I gave it a natural reaction, I ended up choosing to take our pictures with the phenomenal Matt Raven. We did our photo shoot post-match while the match was going on, because I was like, I'd rather call this live, from the booth at home, and get a natural reaction. I'm not a fan of watch wrestling then go and call it, because I feel like if I can't be authentic with it, right, it's doing a disservice. And Arthur's a very good friend of mine as well, so I wanted it to have that moment. So in answer to your question, I knew that there was a pop-up pirate section. That's it.
So he pulls a sword.
Uh-huh.
It's all just, off the cuff.
Everything you hear on there was completely off the cuff, because I didn't know the results of anything. I obviously knew the ending because I was there. I knew of a couple of spots. There was a moment where I believe Steve's back was dropped onto some metal, and the noise it made was absolutely disgusting. They're both tough sons of bitches, but I didn't know anything else in the match. And because of the way that it's filmed, the locker room in United's upstairs, and I'm personally not a big fan of catching myself or anyone. Like, if I've gone out and worked a match, you shouldn't be seeing me standing up there on the balcony, whether I'm face or heel. So I would have hid away anyway, because I don't want to be commentating and then I'm just like, oh, and there's Teach from the past standing up in the corner. It's like, no, I'm good. But yeah, I had no idea, and that made it all the better. And I genuinely hope when Arthur is back from injury next year, that they run another pop-up pirate match. I need this in my soul.
Well, definitely interesting commentary bits for sure. But I do think it's time for that segment once again, and that is TJ's Bizarre Adventure. You're in the pro wrestling world, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Oh, God. I have a couple. I'm just thinking of what one I could tell. So there was one from many, many years ago where we were driving back from a show, and it was one of those moments where I was like, I just came close to death. And I remember I was with someone in the car. It wasn't my usual group of people. And as we were driving, I just see, like, out of the corner of my eye, I see sparks just flying from my car. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And it turned out that, and I was in the left lane, and I wasn't going too fast, but, like, the wheel had like completely gone away, and I was like catching the ground as I was going, and like if I hadn't caught it, the car probably would have burst into flames. So we pull over on the side, and we're just like sitting there waiting, and I was like, oh, you know, that it's cool, we'll get that changed over. And I thought, oh, I'll just put some oil in the car. And I wasn't thinking very clearly at the time because the engine was still hot. I put oil in, and the engine starts going into flames. So I'm standing there with my friend, and we're just on the side of the road with a car that is rapidly, you know, engulfing in flames. And now, thankfully, I didn't know this. I thought my car was gone, but it, you know, turns out that if an engine's too hot and you put oil in, it will get a bit hot. And then it got doused out, and it was fine. That's like a weird, like close to death one. I would say the weirdest driving encounter, though, is probably when I was coming back from a show in Wales, and I had to stop because I was just so tired. And I'll never forget this. I was on a road. I was somewhere between Barry and it must have been like near Staffordshire. It's just on the random. I was on a back road, and I remember there was like a little area where I could stop in, and it was like something out of like The Hills Have Eyes, because there was a man standing by this little it was like a side road in the country, and he was like, "Are you looking for parking?" And I was like, "Yeah, just look at the park." He goes, £2. Holds his hand out, and I'm looking. I'm like, I'm gonna die if I do this. So I give him the £2, and I go in, and there's just a bunch of caravans. Like caravans, like no cars, caravans, and then people start coming out, and I'm not kidding. I do a loop, and I just turn, and I leave. I'm like, no, I'm not staying. I will die if I stay here. This is very not good, very, very bad. And it was just like one of those things where I knew that if I knew death awaited me if I wasn't careful. And the only other one I could think of, which is Denmark-based, is one time after we had been at a Phenomenal Pumpuset show, Aliss Inc. and I are walking around Copenhagen station. Now, for those who don't know, Denmark is a very big drinking country, and Copenhagen in particular, they love their booze, especially on a Saturday night. We were walking, it must have been about midnight, very cold, it's the winter. We're walking to our hotel, and I remember this guy just comes up to us, and he goes, "Yeah, I recognize you." And we're like, "Do you? Were you at the show?" He goes, you do the dungeon work, right?" And we're like, what do you mean? He goes, "You know, you do the dungeon work." Like, he makes a face of it. It's like, "You musicians, you do the dark dungeon thing?" And we're like, "Nah, man, we're wrestlers." The look in, he stank of booze. The look in his face, he just, eyes wide, holds his hands up like we've just pulled out a gun, backs away slowly to my right, and just keeps maintaining eye contact until he leaves our vision. The strangest experience I've seen. Like, it was just, we just were like, what was that about? But overall, like, drunk Danes, mostly lovely people.
Well, yeah. Definitely a couple interesting experiences. And I think that is the absolute best way to transition into, segue into my next question, and that is, can you tell us about Dusklight Radio?
Yeah, Dusklight Radio is a little passion project. I started it while I was working for the No Sleep podcast, which is an incredible team of people. Some of the most premier horror you'll hear. I wanted a little outlet just to kind of work on some ideas I'd had to do my own radio show, but like a fictional one where I could test some of my smaller writing pieces, and a place to just kind of put some narrations to kind of work on my craft. I had to stop doing it because my work at No Sleep was becoming harder to do, and I really needed to lock in on that. I had a couple of shows with them they were commissioning. When that ended, I went back to it, and now it's grown beyond what I would have expected. I mean, it's 12,500 subscribers. We've got a really lovely community, and it's where I kind of post more of my immersive in-universe works. So it's a place where I can kind of really experiment. I don't have to worry about, chasing algorithms. I don't have to worry about anything other than just my own art. And so the last piece I put up was a chapter in my ongoing book, unreleased book. It's called The Last Giant Under the Mountain. I was like, I can just go so deep on the sound design. And the appeal for me and the appeal for the audience is if you love listening to horror, but you want something where when you have headphones on, or if you're listening and you want to hear some sound effects and dynamic design, that's what we do. But it also is a place that I put my D&D. We birthed a Sturgeon-based D&D show called The Nightmare Detectives, which is on podcasting. We actually just put up the finale yesterday, weirdly enough, from the first campaign. And again, it all came through Dusklight Radio. And it's just it's my little corner where I get to do stuff with horror. But ironically enough, James, I just said to my audience on Sunday that I was going to start putting out one wrestling commentary video a month and put it on the channel, both to highlight other companies and other performers, but also to showcase what I do. Because the weird thing is, I've never married the two sides of my professions together. My horror community doesn't really know a lot about my acting outside of like horror, and they don't know about my wrestling. And the wrestlers and my peers, they know I write horror for a living. They don't know what I do in YouTube, so it's going to be a weird merging of the two. But I love Dusklight. It's my baby.
It is very interesting because you did carve out like a very devoted audience for it. No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very blessed in the sense that my most famous non-creepypasta, which is such an old cringe word, my most famous non-creepypasta story, I think it's 1.8 million hits now. I would argue I am significantly more known for my horror than I am for my wrestling. And yet I didn't want to combine the two because there was a big part of me, and there still is, of this concern that I don't want to use that marketability from my horror to fuel my commentary. I'm very big on a meritocracy, even if that's not how the world works. I want to be in the best places, like doing kourgan Hall, doing the voice of Scandi Grabs, because I'm the best, not because I was just the guy there or because I have a good following. Like, there's nothing wrong with utilizing a following to get where. I think that's actually a great idea. But I'm very big on my merits. I need to be the best at what I do. And, there's a massive horror audience in wrestling. So, people say, why don't you combine them? And it's like, I don't know. I think it's a hard thing to kind of meld in that sense. But my horror audience through Dark Somnium, who I primarily work with /for, is incredibly dedicated. I think every series we've done has achieved over 500,000 minimum in audience viewership. So we've done very well in that regard.
And this kind of all, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but this kind of all started on Reddit, Reddit, I should say, in the No Sleep subreddit, no?
It did. Well, it kind of restarted. So my original published writing start, outside of like some competitions when I was like a little kid, was a viral creepypasta called The Expressionless. It's not good. It is incredibly poorly written, as a lot of them were at the time. There was a big gap that they were either very good or very bad. And thankfully, no one thinks mine's absolutely terrible, but I don't like it. But it was a spooky picture and a short little urban legend when I was like 19 years old. And I didn't know how to capitalize on the success. It was super viral at the time. And I ended up kind of leaving it, finishing my degree. And then, as you said, No Sleep was becoming a big thing at the time. This is like 2011. So this is the rise of Dathan Auerbach's pen pal. This is when C.K. Walker, Rebecca Klingel, who did things like Borrasca, who did Whitefall, who has obviously done Hill House on Netflix and so many other great things. And Mick Flanagan was like making their work. I was like, oh, this is really interesting, because it was a different kind of horror in that way of you didn't know at the time how true they were, especially some of the more down-to-earth ones. And I saw it as a great way to test myself. So I wrote a few very, very basic stories where I based them on some real stalking incidents I'd had called, I called it the Three Beasts Saga. And then I never really knew how to finish it. And I just kind of left it. And then I kind of posted on and off for a few years while my life took different directions. And I didn't really see success or like get really into it until probably 2018. Which was really when No Sleep was starting to get recognized by media conglomerates, celebrities, agents, production houses, and I posted the first of the Bar series, and things just kind of took off then.
And when it comes to your, horror work, is there a video on Dusklight that you would recommend our viewers, listeners to check out?
Oh gosh, yes. There's a couple, but I mean, my proudest work as a sound designer is the play. In the middle of this book, I have challenged myself to write for 4 years. The challenge was every chapter, different narrative structure. So one might be first-person gothic horror, the next might be transcripts, the next might be second-person. Because I'm an insane person, I decided that the 6th chapter should be a 5-act Shakespearean tragedy play in the vein of Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Berserk, written in Shakespearean English and then translated manually to like modern English, because again, I'm an insane person. And I did that over 18 months. I then decided to go further, and instead of recording it at home, the way I've done the rest of them, I went to my local theatre where I work, Queen's Park Arts Unbound Theatre in Aylesbury, got in a bunch of actors who auditioned for it. I then recorded them over 3 days in the theatre environment, took the work home, edited it all together, sound designed it into a 2.5-hour epic. And it's by far the stupidest and proudest thing I've done. I would not recommend someone start there in that series, but on a sound level, it's my best work. I would say for a listener that's outside of that, I would say maybe The Graves We Dig, which is the first one. It's about a gravedigger who is writing a confessional that he's done something truly unforgivable. He believes that he is sacrificing bodies brought to the mausoleum to an entity of death. And it doesn't go where you might think it goes. That and In the Distant Travels, the second chapter, you could start there as well, is a 30-minute short horror piece, which I think perfectly encapsulates the psychosis of being in the pandemic, where we were just sat indoors, and sometimes, at least for me, I don't know about you or your audience, but there were moments where I was like, I wonder if anyone else exists right now, because I haven't seen a human body or a human face in like a month and a half, and I think I'm going crazy. So definitely those two, if they like that kind of horror.
Just out of curiosity, have you thought about dabbling in other genres other than horror?
I've definitely considered it. Ironically enough, the NFC, the Nightmare Fighting Tournament, is probably my most popular modern series. Writing season 2 at the moment, and like fans really love that because it's the most anime that I've ever gone with my work, where the horror very much takes a back seat. It's all the characters that I've written into the series that they love, with some new ones, put into a tournament of death in different rounds, and they have to fight various nightmares to get through it, and it's super anime and actiony, and that's been a lot of fun. I would say yes, honestly, I love horror. It will always be my home genre. But the book I'm doing after this, when this is done, it's definitely got horror elements, but it is way more of a fantastical piece than anything else. I don't think I'll ever write like romance, so it's not my forte, and I don't think I'm smart enough to write sci-fi. But the thing that excites me about writing is looking at something and going, how can I make this new? How can I dissect this? How can I make this strange and inviting, like mysteries and dramas and thrillers? I definitely think after the NFC season 2 is done and this current book is done, I'll probably be done writing horror for a year or two, because I'd like to flex other muscles. I think it's like anything in wrestling, to put the allegory back to that. When Zack Sabre Jr. is arguably one of the greatest technical wrestlers of his generation, regardless of nationality. And yet, I know that Zach is also a very strong wrestler who could pivot, if he wanted to, into a more of a physical style where he incorporated way more power dynamic moves, if he wanted to, if he got bored a bit. But at the same time, on any card he's involved in, where he is the main event, you can guarantee the rest of that show will have variety. It will have lucha-style wrestling. It'll have strong style. It'll have submission holds. And writing mirrors that, in that if you do the same thing all the time with no movement, I think you can kind of stagnate. And I don't want the audience to see me as stagnation.
Well, you mentioned it. Can you tell us about your love of anime?
Yes. It's been in my life pretty much since I was a little kid. The first anime I watched was Dragon Ball Z, as a lot of kids who grew up in the early 2000s can attest.
Yes.
That was like my formative thing. I would say the first truly gripping anime I watched was Cowboy Bebop, which I still think is one of the greatest drama animes I've ever seen. And I think like it's something that I hold very deep to me, even if now as an adult I can look at some of the animes I love and I'm like, oh, this isn't that well written, or some of these characters are kind of, like tropey. I'm able to turn that part of my brain off. Cynicism hasn't reached me yet, where I can't enjoy anime because of certain things it does, and I'm very lucky. But to me, anime is a phenomenal medium for drama, where the seiyus are going to do some of the best and most inspired performances. I mean, I challenge anybody, whether they like it or not, to watch some Demon Slayer, watch some My Hero Academia in the Japanese dub, where there's a moment of crisis with Tanjiro or All Might or Deku, and tell me that you don't get a pang of emotion when they're struggling. It's just, again, I almost linking it back to commentary, like it's just the passion in their voice and the delivery of what they do. Is like, how can you not be inspired by that? I think that's why I love JR. JR was one of the most emotional commentators of his era, and there's a reason that we utilize him in, on TikTok and when it was Vine and through memes, like the good God Almighty, they killed him, or the dumpster where they said, don't you dare do it. There's people in there, like we remember them because of the emotional delivery. And I think that's why he's so good. Same as Shinpei Nagami, who was New Japan's original big commentator. Him crying when Yuji Nagata won the openweight belt off of Katsuyori Shibata, and the screaming he put into it, it woke me up. Like my soul woke up. And so anime fills that void for me. I am an unashamed Demon Slayer lover. I think Infinity Castle is one of the greatest technical achievements in animation. It's one of those moments where I sat and I said to myself, this is we have now reached a new bar of quality. I understand why people are concerned. You're stretching a massive arc over 3 films. It's setting an undesirable bar for other anime because it's now the most successful thing, like export in Japanese animation history. But I love it. I love sitting down and getting into something like that, or One Punch Man, which is just silly. It's just delightfully silly, and you know, it doesn't matter what I choose. There is something for everyone out there, and I like to bring a little bit of that into the booth in terms of the energy and some of the storytelling, because I think there's a lot of allegories. There's a reason some of your favorite wrestlers of the modern age are anime fans, is because there's so much you could draw from and bring into professional wrestling.
Man, Demon Slayer has defied my expectations every time that I sit down to watch new content from it. Like, I did not think I was going to care about Akaza, you know, the guy that killed, Goku, as much as I did. For anybody that hasn't seen the movie, like, spoiler alert.
Big spoiler alert here. Please do not listen ahead if you haven't seen Infinity Castle, because...
It was absolute cinema, those moments with Akaza and his backstory, and I never saw it coming. Which, you know, personally, I think is fantastic storytelling.
I was, so I had read the manga, admittedly, and so... But I'm very lucky. I'm not that kind of person where I'm like sitting there going, "Oh, I'm bored, waiting for the next to happen." Like, I was so in. Akaza's thing got me 2 times, and I went with someone else who does not normally cry at movies or anything, and they cried at the end because it just got them. But the bit that got me was a different personal thing. So when Akaza's talking about looking after his dad, it got me because I was my dad's carer during his dementia. And there are some moments in there that when they're anime, they're so visceral. When he says he could see his spine going through his back and he's taking care of him, and he takes that carer mentality to his next family. It's such a small, intimate moment that just caught me so off guard. And it was just wonderfully done. And I think, like, it's a mark of really good storytelling. Obviously, it's become a bit of a meme where, like, you know, they've done it on TikTok where it's like, you know, you chop off the guy's head and then you have to see his sad backstory, and yet it works. Like, you know, they didn't do it. And to be fair, not all the upper ranks have super sad backstories. In fact, 3 of them are not remotely sad. Fuck them. Like, they don't care about it. But, like, Akaza's was good because it's this whole allegory of, like, forgetting what you were here for, being so unbelievably grief-stricken that you would rather, like, enact that pain on other people than enact it on yourself, and still being welcomed home. I think we all, whether you believe in an afterlife or not, and I'm very much on the fence. I don't know. I'm a meat sack of electricity and blood. I don't know what's going on. But the idea that you can fail and fall as hard as Akaza has done, like, you know, a man who killed indiscriminately, who ate people, you know, committed unimaginable sins and killed someone that we all love in Rengoku-san. It doesn't matter, because the people who love you and know you before your faults will welcome you home. I think there's an idea of redemption that we all want at the end of the day, no matter how bad you are. We want almost justice to not like pass judgment on us. We want to be welcomed home somewhere. And to be told welcome home as your afterlife moment, I think it just gets people, man. I think it's just... And also, like, I saw it in 4DX, so I was being pummeled in my seat while watching this film, which was a real... I'd never done 4DX before. It was a weird experience. But to have Akaza, like, crying as he's being kind of brought in, and then my chair is shaking and being rattled around, it was almost abusive. I felt like I was in a wrestling match while being emotionally pummeled. But yes, it's incredible. And I know where they're going in parts 2 and 3 with Countdown to Sunrise.
No
and
spoilers.
I think...
I haven't
No spoil. I I ain't gonna say anything. I think the sole thing that lets Infinity Castle down through no fault of its own, really, is its pacing. It's a very awkwardly paced, near 3-hour epic, and it has a lot of start-stop. But that is kind of inevitable with, the kind of story they're telling. They're going from a season of anime to a film, and that's going to be hard. But other than that, incredible.
Oh yeah. And definitely, I mean, obviously the biggest, anime movie of all time. Currently at 7th or 6th of the top grossing movies of 2025. So, I mean, obviously it's anime, so it's big, but when you leave like the juggernauts in the dust, like Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon, it kind of transcends the genre itself.
I mean, it's now the highest grossing Japanese film of all time.
Yes.
I think that in itself is a huge achievement, and it speaks to the sheer marketability of Demon Slayer. I mean, it is. I think of John Wick when I think of this, which is John Wick 4 is probably one of the greatest films I've ever seen. And I said to my friend at the time how rare it is that you will see a franchise get better as it goes on, not worse, especially in this day and age. And on top of that, for the 4th entry in a franchise to be the best by a mile is astounding. And for Demon Slayer to come into the cinema with its first proper cinema adaptation since Mugen Train, which also did well, but this is now, the 7th arc. This is the penultimate proper final arc. People have to go through 65 episodes to get here, and it still is doing as good as it does. That is astounding.
And I kind of attribute that to, the other animes that are currently, like, around Demon Slayer, where, My Hero, it had, like, a really strong start. And then, for some reason, it just kind of fell off. Especially, to some degree, quality-wise. And, I mean, Jujutsu Kaisen is kind of starting to pick up momentum again, but... if you know that, a lot of their characters die. So
well, My Hero, I think, is attributed to superhero fatigue. I certainly have it. I watched all the Marvel stuff up to Infinity War, and I was like, this is a great point to stop, and I really never wanted to go back, and I still don't. And I don't know if that's just because I consume a lot of different media, and I've got no judgment if that's what someone loves, because I think it'd be unfair as a wrestling fan to poo-poo someone else's passion. But like, I just think there is so much fatigue in franchises at the moment. Like, I love Star Wars. I have barely scratched the surface of the television adaptations they've got. I know Andor is incredible. I've watched both seasons of that because it was like must-see television, but everything else I'm just like, it's too much for me. And I think My Hero suffered as a byproduct of that. I haven't seen the end of it, but I did also fall off of it. JJK, again, got up to season 2 and stopped. Can't remember why, but there is a well, Heavy is the head that wears the crown, and whenever we give the anime of the year, anime of the season, it has big shoes to fill. Like, you referenced it earlier, but JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is one of my favorites because it doesn't care about wearing the crown. Nothing, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of it because it really can't do wrong. And I hope these words don't prove to be a curse, because Steel Ball Run is my favorite of the series, and I think it's going to do great. But when you have a manga that was written and drawn so well, it was put in the Louvre, that is, it doesn't matter. But when we put JJK, Solo Leveling, Kaiju number 8, Frieren, Dr. Stone, we put these on a pedestal and we expect too much. I think that's the other part of the problem. I love One Punch Man. I obsessively love that show. I've loved it for 10 years, and I have waited nearly 9 years now, or 8 years, for season 3, and I do not care that it's with not the best studio. I don't care that it's not with Madhouse. I'm just happy we're getting it, and because my expectations are low, I know I'm going to enjoy it a lot more. I can't speak that to every fan, obviously, but if you go in expecting too much, I think they can cause a bit of a failure. And again, with wrestling, All Out was an incredible card, but I think that when people went to go and watch WrestlePalooza, I think is what it was called, I think their expectations were so high from All Out that it just kind of dampened it. It's like, well, they're two different products. They're two very different ways of presenting wrestling. And if you go in expecting one over the other, then I think you're setting yourself up for a fall.
No, I definitely get what you mean. I'm a big, obviously, as you know, I'm a big JoJo fan as well. People keep telling me, Steel Ball Run is, the big one. So
It is.
I am very much looking forward to that, as well. And big One Punch Man fan as well. So, I haven't heard, a lot of good things leading
No, neither have I.
So, I mean, my expectations are not high either, but, it's still One Punch Man content. Which, like you said, we haven't gotten for, 10 years at this point, so, hopefully it's not,
Yeah, it's tough. I think for me, it's been, so we had, I just checked it from my own memory, it's been 6 years, nearly 7 years, since season 2, and I loved season 2. Was it the quality of 1? No, but that was MAPPA doing their best, and also, people have to remember, MAPPA did do their best there, but MAPPA, like any other studio, has fallen short before. It doesn't mean they're perfect. There's other things they've done where they didn't do great. So I think JC staff did a great job, all things considered. And I know that people are concerned because it's like the fights that come up in this arc, particularly like Goro, that they're like, oh, how are you going to animate that? It's not meant to be animated. Yusuke Murata said it's not that. I was like, well, it's going to have to be. They're going to have to find a way. And I would rather live in a world where they tried and failed than not at all. One of my favorite mangas of all time is Berserk. There has never been a more... I mean, it's one of the most successful mangas ever made, and yet there's never been a more cursed adaptation series than Berserk. I love the 97 anime. I have seen the trilogy of films, and I regrettably have seen the 2016 anime. But I'm still glad they tried, because at least it's something. And perhaps that's not the way a lot of fans look at it, but to me... I waited 7 years to see where the monster retrieval arc goes. I'm very happy to be here, and if it's not that great, well, you know what? I didn't lose anything, so...
I only recently got into Berserk, and first and foremost, I'm not a manga reader. I don't read manga. So, I saw, the 97 version, and, I was satisfied until literally the very end, knowing that there's not going to be, a new season, because obviously it was made in 97.
Yes.
So that kind of really upset me, but, I am optimistic that, when the series does, finally conclude, and we do have an ending to Berserk, that we might actually get a proper, animated version of it.
I think it's just also a shame because Miura-san obviously passed away, so to get a proper ending is now going to be out of his vision. I think that makes it harder as well from the manga perspective. But they have continued it in the films in the 2016 anime. But I think it's also knowing to me it's still worth watching the 97 adaptation because it is that good. It is that good. It is worth it. There has never been anything like it before or since. The closest thing would be Cowboy Bebop a couple years later, but different genre, different vibe. I just think, in spite of the fact that nothing ever came of it beyond that, aside from the films and stuff, I think it's still a diamond in the rough.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it definitely holds up, but keep in mind, I also like that, gritty, hand-drawn animation style.
Yes.
But, it's just like a bittersweet moment to get to, the ending of that and know that there is no...
I get you.
No conclusion to it. It's frustrating.
No, I understand, yeah. But such is the journey.
I mean, you're reading the manga, so, I mean, you have to wait, like, what? Like, 3 to 6 months for one new chapter?
I'm not caught up at the moment anyway,
Okay.
but if I was, I would, it would be a while. It is something I'm working through. I would highly recommend to anybody listening to check out the big volumes that Dark Horse Comics do. They're expensive, but they, again, manga like that, it's something to put on your shelf. It's these big, bulky books that you can kind of go through, and you're certainly getting your money's worth for it.
Hell yeah. Alright, we definitely went off the rails when it came to our anime conversation.
Hell yeah, brother.
I do apologize if I am keeping you over. But
I got a few minutes. You're all good.
we will get into the colossal question. Let's say that they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I'm glad you didn't ask me who's playing me because I'd just self-deprecate and say Danny DeVito.
Ironically enough, that is my next question.
Oh, okay, fantastic. Well, okay. So musically, the first 3 tracks. So again, I guess it depends where the film starts, but Sleep Tokens, Calcutta. It's my favorite track they've ever done. It's one of the greatest songs I've ever heard from their EP2. Then I'd say Sun Bleached Flies by Ethel Cain. It's just a great emotional moment if there was something going on, talking about something from my personal life. And then Follow You Into the Dark from the Alan Wake 2 soundtrack. I am blanking on who wrote that. Featuring Raquel. Yeah, really good song.
Okay, solid 3 picks. Now that we have the soundtrack down, everybody knows you get the soundtrack first, then you write the script, and then you go to casting. Danny DeVito will be playing you. But every movie has a supporting cast as well. Who would be 3 people significant to you and your story, and who would be playing them?
3 people significant to me. Endokara, played by Dev Patel. Alice Inc., played by, actually, you know what? What is her name? Florence Pugh. You can't have Emily Blunt. She's in every combat wrestling biopic at the moment. Also, people should go and see The Smashing Machine. Separate moment. But third would be, again, if it's wrestling, probably Arthur Scuro. And I don't know who would play Arthur. I mean, you can't say Johnny Depp because Arthur's much younger than Johnny Depp. He's a tall, handsome lad.
I mean, we have CGI.
Sure. Yeah, Johnny Depp with CGI.
Okay. This is sounding like a very interesting movie. I'm
sure it would be.
A great movie. A blockbuster, to say the least. And you could
One way of looking at it.
You could pre-order the tickets now. Onto a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
My instinct is revulsion. However, I am a live and let live person. So, if you don't make me eat the pineapple on pizza, you can have it all you want. Now, if you have tuna on pizza, anchovies, or if you have surströmming near me, that's a problem. If your food stinks to high heaven, that's a problem. But pineapple on pizza, it's inoffensive to me, as long as I don't have to have it.
who's putting tuna on their pizza?
I knew a guy who liked he just had really unusual cravings with his pizzas, and one of them was tuna, and it was as gross as you can imagine it was.
Okay, so we're anti-pineapple on pizza and tuna on pizza as well.
Listen, you can have it, anyone else can have it, as long as I don't have to have it.
Fair enough. I mean, you are from the UK, so I do have some UK exclusive questions as well. The first one being, KFC or Nando's?
KFC. I am, ironically, despite being an Englishman, not that big on Nando's. KFC all the way. Popcorn chicken is my thing.
Okay. And is the greatest person to ever be knighted Sir Patrick Stewart?
Oh my goodness. Possibly. I mean, Gary Oldman also just got knighted. No, actually. So I love Sir Patrick Stewart, but no. There is another, to quote Yoda. It's Sir David Attenborough. Without going on a tangent, David Attenborough is probably one of my greatest heroes, as was Terry Pratchett, rest in peace, as a writer. But David is the greatest conservationist the world has ever seen. He is a national treasure. He has opened the world's eyes to the struggles of animals all around the world, what we're doing to the planet. I don't know how that man is still alive. He is nearly 100, and he's still working. But he is one of the greatest Englishmen ever. And while Sir Patrick is an incredible talent, I have to give it to Sir David.
And you're actually not the first person to say him as well. So obviously, very beloved.
Oh, he's a national treasure. He hates it. He doesn't like being called it, but he is a national treasure. He is the nation's grandfather. That is who he is.
All right. What's your spirit Pokemon?
Gengar. 100%. Has been, always will be Gengar. He is a sweet, ghostly boy who is misunderstood, struggles to communicate, and eats dreams. I love him.
Okay, it seems like you had that ready to go.
I've been asked it before, and he has since I was a kid. He has always been like that Pokemon to me. Aside from the usual suspects, that's the one I always choose.
I gotcha. Now we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for Doug? THUG.
I don't think I do.
T is for terrible.
Acronym for thug. Okay.
Oh, did you need time to think, or do you want me to spell it
out? No. You know what? I'd rather be told, because I don't think I'll get this. Go ahead.
T is for terrible. H is for hell. U is for ugly. And G is for jail, because a Doug can't spell.
Fantastic.
We love the late great Tracy Smothers. Trying to keep the memory alive on the show. Icon
of Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Now, weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever consider commentating a match between a wrestler and a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the Country, an actual physical Rock.
Oh yeah. I mean, I would do it as long as like the pay was right and it was a well structured match. I got no problem. I imagine it would end very quickly with body slam onto the Rock, herniate a disc, Rock is over in 2 minutes.
But you're not completely off on that. Just for context, there is a wrestler named Psycho Mike that indeed wrestled a Rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yes.
I did not know that. That's incredible.
And there was commentary for it as well. So
I will be looking this up.
I can send it to you.
Thank you very much.
On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In wrestling?
However you want to answer it.
In 5 years, where I would like to be, when it comes to wrestling, is I would like to be, hopefully, either a mainstay in the Japanese scene, as one of their most seasoned commentators. It'd be lovely if I was working bigger companies as a performer, whether that was, managing, doing the occasional bump in the ring. It certainly will not be wrestling on the big enough companies, I can tell you that much. I'm never going to get that good in 5 years. But, whether that's with KNR, with Ender, or commentary. And with my writing, just more success. To have both these books out in 5 years would be a massive thing, and to see how well they do and see if it is as successful as I expect it to be. And outside of those two things, still healthy, still youngish. I won't be too old by that point. Happy, and teaching more and more people the art of commentary and managing a performance.
Perfect. And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Okay.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Greatest wrestler of all time.
Oh gosh, I have an answer, but it's a controversial one, so I'm gonna switch it.
Hey, we like controversy here.
Okay, Chris Benoit.
Yeah, I mean I get it. And it is
as a wrestler, this is a wrestler, purely as a wrestler.
Yes,
Chris Benoit.
Worst wrestler.
Ooh, Great Khali.
I will accept that answer. You're commentating the main event of WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who are the 2 combatants?
AJ Styles and Aleister Black.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Bray Wyatt, original Catch and Flies.
Okay. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Dead.
We would have also accepted tastes great on toast. Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Vegetable? My instinct says vegetable, but it can also be a fruit. That's a weird one.
Is that your final answer? You seem unsure.
I know my grandparents from the grave are going to hurt me if I don't get it right. I am going to say it's a fruit.
Is that your final answer?
Yes. I know it's technically both, but still.
It is indeed a fruit. It has...
Okay, I didn't have my granddad down.
It has seeds. Tomato logic.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yes. New Japan wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
I think that depends on how much of a thirst trap you are. If you are moving more merch, putting more butts in seats, the more cheek you show, you keep showing that cheek. That is determined by the people.
So it's determined by the people.
Correct. If the people don't want to see your cheeks, they'll let you know. If they want to see your cheeks, they'll let you know. And that's across the gender spectrum. If you got cheeks and they are moving seats, who are we to judge?
Okay. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
Unfortunately, I have not had the pleasure, but now that you've said that, I am going to find some time and place to do it.
If you do happen to do it, please record it. Please send it to me. I would love to see it.
I will find a time.
And of course, that is the correct answer. That will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
No, of course. Thank you so much for having me, James. It's been a lot of fun. It went in very different directions. I had a blast. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. And once again, where can we find you on social media?
So, as you aptly pointed out, YouTube, Dusklight Radio. You can find a lot of my works there and on Dark Somnium if you search my writing name, which is also my Instagram name, TJAYLEA. You can also find me occasionally, I would say you can find me on like Reddit through my work, but mainly Instagram, the TJ Lee, and Dusklight Radio on YouTube.
And we can buy your books on Amazon
of course.
And other places as well?
Yes, as I nearly forgot. Yes, you can find me on Amazon at t.j.lea, and you can also buy most of my books from retailers as well, I believe. Spaces in between, The Last Sin Eater, The NFC, and a couple of short story collections, The Things We Take Away and The Things We Leave Behind, with new work coming out in 2026.
Perfect. And you don't have to type it into your Google machine. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Buy a damn book.
Oh, and also the Nightmare Detectives on podcasting, all podcast formats, Spotify, Apple Music, all of them. Nearly forgot that. That's our immersive D&D environment. Please check that out too.
Perfect. Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, both on YouTube and Castbox. This was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews, and follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on Extra and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, when I say wrestling wit, you say entertainment, okay?
Mm-hmm.
For our special guest, TJ Lee, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling Wit
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.